Welcome to Work Life by Design. I'm your host, Mel Marsden. If the last few years have taught us anything, it's that change is inevitable and we no longer need to go to work to work. As a workplace dynamic strategist and the founder of Community, I draw back the curtains on my own business, the clients and projects that we deliver, along with tapping into the knowledge and insights from academics, business leaders and champions of change. I believe that our environments have the power to positively influence our behaviour and performance, inspiring our human potential. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Work Life by Design. You may have noticed that I have recently written a book, The Next Workplace, Designing Dynamic Environments that Inspire Human Potential. Now, I wrote this book because I saw a need for business leaders, people in culture, property and facilities to see how their workplaces were actually impacting on the performance of their people and therefore the profitability of their businesses. So this book is all about unpacking and connecting all of those business principles and foundational requirements in running a business to how the physical environment is either enabling or hindering that from happening. And so today I want to talk to you about one of the things that I see happening the most in businesses, and it's the critical first step that I see most businesses missing. Now, often when organizations are starting out on this process of creating their next workplace, they start by looking at the immediate problem. They're looking at the fact that they're running out of space or they've got too much space. The space that they've got doesn't work. It doesn't facilitate the way that they need to engage and create work in the space any longer. People aren't even coming into the office, which is creating different challenges for the organization, or it's this problem or that problem or something else. And what they start to do is they start to try and solve the problem. Often when I come in, I see that they've had a floor plan out and they've started scribbling and they're working with the existing constraints of their existing footprint, or they're thinking about their next footprint and they've already started talking to leasing agents and they've gone out to market and they've gone, oh, we found this really great premises. It's this big. We don't know if this is too much or too little space. So they're kind of jumping the gun. And the reason that they're doing that is because they're missing this very first critical step in understanding how their organization functions and what they need to do to actually create that next workplace for them. And what's happening is that they're not taking that bigger view. They're getting stuck in the weeds. They're focusing on what's directly in front of them, and they're not taking that longer term perspective around how their business is going to change. And what they need to do is get up higher. They need to be looking at the horizon. Now, the first chapter of my book, and also the first pillar in our Workplace Dynamics Blueprint model, is about reimagining the future of work. Now, this can take on many forms, and in the book, I take you through it in much greater detail. But what I want to do today is I want to share with you what I believe are two of the top 3 things that you should be thinking about when you are starting to embark on this next workplace adventure. These are the things that I see many businesses fail to consider and I think are really, really important in understanding where your business is at and how you're going to get to where you want to go. How are you going to take that horizon view? So the first thing that I see organizations failing to do is considering what their future actually looks like. Now, if you think about this, if you're going to either refurbish your existing premises or you're going out to lease a new premises, this is going to be a significant investment for your business. This isn't small amounts of money that we're talking about here. And it's also going to be for probably a 5 or 10-year lease term. Even if you are signing up for a 5-year lease, you're probably taking an option there for another 3 to 5 year extension. And so you're looking at this as a 10-year investment. How is your business going to change in that 10-year period? That's a long time. And we've already seen the significant amount of change that we've been through in the last 3 years. What potential does your business have for changing in the next 5 to 10 years? That's a big vision that we need to start thinking about. But it's also something that we need to really get the crystal ball out and start gazing into it, because we need to be thinking about that impact. We're going to be creating something now that our business is going to be occupying for the next 5 to 10 years. So we need to start to have some sort of forethought and some sort of perspective around what we're actually going to need. So what I want you to start by doing is thinking about, what is the vision that you have for your business? Are you going to grow? Are you going to expand into new markets? Are you going to be contracting? Are you going to have new departments delivering new business services? How is your business going to evolve? Are you going to still have the same departments and the same structure in your organization in 5 years' time that you have now? Are you going to be employing more people, or are you going to be employing less? We got to think about the impact that technology is having on our businesses, the role of AI. What roles within our organizations are going to shift and change? What is going to exist in 5 years' time that doesn't now? What isn't going to exist that does now? And how is the space that we're going to be creating going to need to support and facilitate that? Because the way that I need to work now using the current tools and technology that I have could be quite different from the tools and technology that I'm going to have in 5, 10 years' time and the spaces that I'm going to need to support that. So we need to start thinking about these things because whilst some of this stuff we don't even know what might exist, it's about considering the agility and the adaptability that our workplaces need to have to cater to the unknown, to be able to be flexible enough to be reconfigured to support new ways of working as we continue to evolve and we start to come across these things in the future. So the first step is really sitting down and starting to think about, what is my business going to look like? Where am I going? Do a SWOT analysis. Think about how this is going to impact on your business. Now, the second thing that I see businesses often forgetting to look at is trying to understand where they are right now. What does your business actually look like right now? So in my book, I actually share a checklist that I provide to my clients to gather the data that I need to understand their current situation. And the reason that this is really important is because just like planning a road trip and we decide that we're going to go to this destination, we first need to know where we are, because even though we know where we're going, if we don't know where we are, we don't know which direction to take. We don't know which roads are going to get us there. So understanding what our current situation looks like is critical in designing that roadmap from where we are to where we're going. And the other reason that this is really important, because what we need to do is we need to understand what's happened in the business historically, and we need to understand where we are right now. Because when we understand our current state and we can see the patterns and changes that have happened historically in our business, we can start to predict the future. That data is starting to inform our decisions of the way things are going to continue to change. Have particular departments expanded? Have particular departments contracted? Are we seeing an uplift in these services or a decline in these services? Are we seeing growth? Are we seeing contraction? All of these things are key elements in informing not only your business strategy, but also your workplace environment. Now, some of the things that I want you to start thinking about in collating this data is looking at the demographics of your employees. That's everything from age to gender to the tenure of employment, the departments that they sit in, and the roles that they work in. Now, what this is doing is giving you a snapshot of what your business looks like. Are you hiring lots of a particular generation? Are they fitting into particular types of roles? How long are people staying within your organization? Are different departments having different tenures? All of these things give us insight into how we can then create a workplace that responds to the desires and the needs of the people that you employ, because that is what is then going to help you attract more of those people into your business, because you can create a workplace and an environment that looks and feels like somewhere that they would want to work. What do our workplaces look like when we no longer need to go to work? As organisations navigate a new frontier, struggling to work out what's next in today's hybrid and distributed world, how can we leverage one of our greatest assets, our workplace? My book, The Next Workplace, Designing Dynamic Environments that Inspire Human Potential, will show you how to leverage your workplace to attract and retain talent, increase employee engagement, and elevate employee experience, plus deliver bottom-line returns on your investment. The Next Workplace is the ultimate playbook. It will inspire your thinking, show you how to unlock the data in your business, provide you with the resources to build your business case with confidence, and reveal the proven frameworks and practical tools to align, enable, and inspire the human potential within your organisation. So, to grab your copy and begin to reimagine your next workplace, head over to my website, melissamarsden.com.au/book. I also want you to think about your organisational structure. Now, this is one of the things that I look at starting off because I want to understand how your business works. I want to understand the different streams of businesses that you have. I want to understand how those business streams connect to each other, who talks to who, how does information flow in your business. So understanding that organizational structure is really imperative because then I can also see how big different departments are, and then I can start to look at how they need to work together and what is that going to do in terms of informing floor plate size. If I know that Department A and Department B need to go together and they're an X amount of people, that's going to equate to X amount of space. So once we can start to understand that, we can then utilize that data to inform our next steps. I also want you to start looking at your existing floor plans because your existing floor plans are actually a wealth of data. When I start looking at that, I can often predict and tell a client a lot of the challenges that they're already having in their organization just by looking at their floor plans. Perhaps they've got silos forming, maybe there's poor communication flow, and a lot of that has to do with the way that the floor plate is designed, the flow of space, and the physical barriers that are actually then causing roadblocks in terms of communication and information transfer. The second part of that I want you to look at is your seating plans. How are your seating plans overlaying onto those floor plans? And then by going back and looking at what your organizational structure is and how those teams need to communicate, is your seating plans actually enabling that? Or is it creating, again, more roadblocks and challenges for people to be able to communicate? The other things that I want you to start looking at are your brand guidelines. What is the color palette that your organization incorporates? Now, I don't like to go around using feature colors, but it does start to inform the personality of your business. What is the purpose of the organization? What are the values? What are the behaviors? What's the tone of voice? How do we want to be represented and how do we want to show up? What is the experience that we want people to be having when they're doing business with us? So this is another really critical element. I want you to look at your business strategy, and I also want you to look at your growth projections because I want you to look historically at how your business has changed, and then I want you to start thinking about how your business is going to change in the future. So all of this data is already existing in your organization. You just need to be able to pull it all together and understand how to unlock it so that it can start to inform your next steps around what your workplace is going to need to look like to get to that ideal state that we've already talked about. We know where we want to go. Now we know where we are. Now we can start to design a roadmap to get there. And that brings me to my third point. The third thing that I see organizations failing to do is bringing a team together that is going to help them get there. This is about assembling an internal group of people to advise and to consult and to be involved in the decision-making process because this is going to be imperative to the success of your project and the success of your next workplace and in turn, the success of your business. Don't get me wrong, I'm not asking you to create a committee because we all know that when we get together and we try to design a horse by committee, we end up with a camel. We're not going there. This is a select small group of people who need to play a role in the design of your next workplace. The reason I see this as a challenge is because often the design and creation of our workplaces falls to the procurement or the facilities people because they're sitting within the finance team. And therefore, this becomes a decision that becomes all about money. How can we save money in creating our next workplace? However, there's a different perspective. We need to start thinking about it as an investment. We need to start thinking about it as how we can get a return on that investment rather than being a liability on our balance sheet. Your workplace is an asset when it's used well. And so the other people that I highly encourage you to get in your team to help you in this process of designing your next workplace, the first one is going to be involving the people and culture team. So the people and culture team, they are the ones who are charged with ensuring that the people in the organization are as productive as possible, they have the tools that they need to do their job, and that work is a place that they enjoy coming. So they already have a very clear perspective and great insights on what it is going to take to create a workplace that people want to come to, that they want to be part of, and it is going to attract people into your organization so that you can then deliver on the products and services that your business offers, do it productively, and therefore generate more profit for your business. Therein lies the first return on your investment. The next people that you need to have on that team is your IT team. Because without the technology to enable people to work and built in and enable it to be frictionless as possible within your workplace, it all starts to fall apart. The wheels fall off. I can't tell you the amount of times that I have gone through this process with organizations and they aspire to create modern, flexible workplaces where people have agility and they can work any way they like. But what lets them down is their technology. They're still working off desk-based PCs. Their meeting rooms are not tech-enabled. It's not easy to connect to. All of these challenges start to create friction, which creates frustration for people to be able to do their job. Bringing the people and culture team and your IT team to the table and making this a collaborative approach enables you to be far more successful in delivering this next workplace because you are not creating something that can't be supported by the technology that you have available to you. There's also budgets that need to be considered in this. So it's about bringing them all together. And so when we bring all of these people together, you are far more likely to be successful because you've got a multiple perspectives contributing to that final decision. So those are the three things that I see most organizations fail to do when they are starting out on this process. So the first one was really sitting down and thinking about what does your future look like? As I said, this is a leasing decision that you are going to make. It's a massive investment. It's going to take your business the next 5 to 10 years is going to be in this space. What does that space need to do to ensure its performance for your organization over that period of time? Number 2, where are you now? What does your business look like? How has it got here? What is all the data that exists in your organization telling you about where you are? And then how are you going to get there to where you want to go along that roadmap? And the third thing is bringing together the people that are going to help you get there, because we need to have more people at the table contributing different perspectives to ensure that we are thinking about all the different aspects of what is going to make our workplace successful. So, as I said, I dive much, much deeper into this in my book, The Next Workplace, Designing Dynamic Environments. There's checklists in there, there's case studies, there's resources to support organizations in starting to work their way through this journey, to be able to have the conversations with those various departments to make sure that we're all taking an informed approach about how we can actually leverage our workplace as an asset and elevate everyone's experience of work. So if you want to grab the book, there's links in the show notes. You can head over to my website, melissamarsden.com.au/book. But that's it for today. Thank you for joining me. I hope that that gives you a bit of insight, because this is a fantastic opportunity for so many organizations and it's often missed. And the amount of times that I am brought back in to businesses to help them reconfigure, re-navigate and make this work after they've already gone and invested so much into their workplace and it doesn't work. It's really heartbreaking because there's only so much I can do with limited budget. But when you start and you take the right approach for these projects from the very beginning, you can have an incredible impact that sees so much ripple effect throughout your business, that creates engagement, it creates high levels of performance, increased productivity, job satisfaction goes up, and as a result, the financial bottom line starts to return as well. Thanks very much for joining me today. I hope that that sparks a few bits of inspiration for you, and I look forward to hearing from you how this has helped you create your next workplace.